What we have seen with the less established companies is that there's less foresight put into their products. It's more about what can we get with this. Ralph Lauren came to us knowing exactly what they wanted because they had already planned in advance what the merchandise was going to be for.
That's a perfect example for you know your people and you know the situation that you place this merchandise into.
It's extremely important that you spend some time in creating a brand guidelines. You need to know your colors, you need to know your brand, you need to know...
With smaller brands, they will pay a lot of money for wasted merchandise until they realize, okay, we need to be prepared better for our next project. And that means...
I'm Will Campbell.
And I'm Pascal Vida, and this is Promotion's Playbook.
Together we've built Australia's largest catalogue of customisable promotional products.
Whether you're a small business or a major player, we know the right merch can transform your brand and help you grow.
In each episode, we'll show you how to get fast, transparent and affordable promotional products to take your business to the next level.
Ready to elevate your brand? Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome back to Promotion Playbook. I'm here today with my co-founder, Will. And today we want to talk about our experience and our learnings of how we work with unprepared and prepared clients and how we may help them to get to their perfect merchandise. Will, in the last 17 years, I guess you experience a lot of prepared and unprepared clients and how they get into custom merchandise and try to get their promotional product project running. What were your learnings in the last couple of years of that?
I guess to start off, I guess the main focus we start talking about would be the established companies that we work with. A good example to start would be Apple, Coca-Cola, Bunnings. They come to us well-educated in terms of their brand guidelines and how they want things to look. They know their target audience. They know what they want their merch to do, how to function, and the end result from that merchandise. A good example is they have a brand guidelines. They've had professional artwork created. They have their colours sorted. They have their palettes sorted. In terms of the merchandise, they know the function that a product is going to get for them. Let's say they've Amazon Web Services, for instance. If there's a tech conference that they're going to, a good example of a product would be something that could be usable in that conference. Power bank straight away. Something that has immediate functionality. Notebook, pen. They also are the masters of subtle advertising, so stuff that's not so in your face and I guess aggressive branding. It's more subtle, that suits their ongoing brand that they've used previously, and their customers sort of know their brand.
I guess as well with bigger brands, what we experience is they're not really about their own branding in itself for the product. They really think about what they think of their clients and their audience and how to implement this product in their daily life. So how you said with the power bank, they know their people, they know they will use it. So it's not about like just a big branding on it. It's literally about the usage that they think or the value that they think is for the customer.
Of course. It's the usability of the product more so than, I guess, what we have seen with the less established companies is that there's less sort of foresight put into their products. It's more about what can we get with this? How many can we get from this? So a limited budget, but it's all trying to fit in the most amount of products within that budget. So instead of, I guess, using this sort of term, less is more, they'll go out and buy, let's say 1,000 pens and just hand them out willy-nilly with their brand and thinking that that's going to bring them back business and sort of establish their brand name. But why are you giving a pen to a random person with a logo that doesn't mean anything to them?
No intention behind that.
So I guess in terms of the larger companies, let's say Coca-Cola, they don't just focus on just generic merchandise. There is a usability function of it. Like Coca-Cola's come into a brand where people actually collect merchandise. So they've been in the promo market for generations, where it be T-shirts or yo-yos, things that people sort of associate with Coca-Cola.
Kind of the fun way and
yeah. I mean, there's Facebook groups that have thousands of people and that share the merchandise that they've collected or that have been around since.
But it only works as well because they understand their people they want to target and they talk to.
It's an established brand.
Yeah,
people
correct.
know it. The logos, everyone knows Coca-Cola logo. It's yeah.
But overall, with as well, what we experience and as well what our team is telling us most of the time is, you have the bigger brands, they already know where they come from, who they talk to, and then you have other brands and other companies, they come and obviously then have no idea that they want to talk to a certain group within their audience or to a certain segment within their target clients. And then that already starts with, okay, what is the actual product? What is the actual message? What is the actual placement on this product that I try to achieve, or the goal that I try to achieve with that? With smaller brands, they try to figure out on the long run with their merchandise, unprepared, they will pay a lot of kind of money for wasted merchandise until they literally come to the point and realize, okay, we need to be prepared better for our next project. And that means having the right message, having simple things like the logo file in the right way, print ready, knowing what type of products are working with my audience, and then based on that, going and contacting suppliers like Promopunks or talking to Promopunks about the next portfolio and merchandise. So I guess that's one key element that we kind of saw and realized is an issue for customers. They're unprepared or maybe don't have the experience with merchandise.
I guess that comes with trial and error as well. I guess if I've got a customer that is new to advertising and they want to do something for their brand, I would suggest something smaller scale. Test your market. Get the feedback. Don't order 500 or something if you haven't ordered before. Order 10, 25, trial it. Make sure that your message
gets
across.
Yeah. And maybe even then go higher quality products, or use your budget with higher quality, because if you hand over this particular product, what has a higher quality, it sits. Someone will actually appreciate that they got it, and then you will see as well what the impact of merchandise for your brand and business is.
100%. It also reflects your brand as well. If you're, let's say, a high-end hoodie, you can tell a difference between, say, a $50, $60 hoodie compared to, a handout hoodie that's $15, $20. Do you want to order $500, $15 hoodies and hand out that are going to last a couple of washes and they start curling up at the bottom? If you spend a bit more money, maybe smaller scale to begin with, hand out to your good customers. Obviously, the quality of the product's going to represent and reflect your brand. I wouldn't want a cheap and nasty product representing my brand per se.
Well, in regards to the difference to small, bigger, prepared, unprepared customers, they come to us. What kind of is for you, how do you qualify? How do you kind of recognize, okay, there's someone I'm talking to who's prepared, who knows what he wants, and not just in regards to the products. It's an entire already pre-contact pass or pre-contact phase of a customer, what he delivers to us to get the best outcome for them.
Yeah, so a well-established company will come to us with a quote request and they'll straight up upload their brand guidelines, which is basically just a PDF that has the do's and don'ts of how to use their logo. So it'd be the specific size that they need it on specific products, where it's left justified, right justified, centered. Thing with Google, they don't want their logo massive. They want it sort of in scale to that product. But colors are probably the most important thing to recognize in their guidelines. When compared to, I guess, a less established organisation, they may have a vector logo, but the vector logo was created perhaps quickly or was an afterthought, and a brand guidelines wasn't created with that logo. It was just a logo. So they'll come to us with their logo, we'll quote it up, and then when it comes to ordering stage, we then have to go back and provide education on why we need specific colours. A good example would be the customer's got a yellow logo. We need a Pantone colour code. There's a lot of different sort of tones of yellow, which will affect your brand. It needs to be exactly what you want it to be. You don't want it to be like a, I guess, like a wishy-washy yellow compared to a vibrant yellow per se.
And as well, it comes back to the actual product, no? Different materials. The yellow
100%.
comes out differently on
Yeah,
every.
so if you're printing yellow on black, you got to make sure that you put a base color down, which is generally white, so the yellow sits on top, and the vibrancy of the yellow isn't absorbed by the black product. So just little things like that I guess maybe is just missed and not thought about. So that's when we come in and provide the education on what to do and what not to do.
Next to colors is, of course, as well with the brand guideline, getting an understanding, okay, what is the actual context of the branding, of the logo, and as well, the mix up between what is branding, what is logo. Yes, you have branding and overall concept of what your business should look like outside, but logo is just a part of it. So saying that, you or the customer needs to get an understanding for, okay, how do I use the logo on what type of product on, and if I'm talking about, let's as an example, if I talk about a pen, how is the placement, how you said with Google, they have a clear understanding how the logo in regards to the overall concept of a branding works. So making sure that within the concept and idea of your logo, to understand what do I want with that and how should it appear and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. And I guess we can't make we can't make more clear for our customers sometimes to go back to do their homework in regards to, okay, come minimum with something that clears your actual base idea on what is branding and how does it look for you, because you can't, well, we can't do the work. A lot of times, I guess you can share the idea. Some people come to us and they almost give us then the homework to do their branding.
Yeah. These people come to us with a problem and we've got to solve it. And that's, I guess, through education of what is required.
Yeah.
But in terms of the product itself, like back to Google again, they've got several different colors in their logo. Do you want to put a colored logo on, say, a vacuum bottle that's going to be washed and knocked around, that the logo could chip off over time, or corrosive dishwashing tablets are used and the logo may come off? You don't know what are in those things. So people come to us wanting a printed logo, but sometimes that's not going to work on products. So we need to offer, I guess, a different way forward and what will work and what won't work. And that's where education comes into place.
Yeah. To understand what products you want and how the placement should look like and what type of decoration you want, you need to have an idea about your actual branding. So a lot of clients, they come to us and they just have a logo, but no idea about the actual branding and contextual placement of a logo. So of course we can assist, but in a certain way, it's like defining the personality and characteristic of your business, where there's limited scope that we can take this homework. We are happy to assist there, but I guess as well for you and our team, it's like a daily battle to actually help our clients to make sure the outcome is what they expect. And that means as well making a client aware of, hey, maybe let's talk about the actual branding again. And it's not just about the logo in this case.
A main sort of issue that comes up a lot is when we do request Pantone colors, and 90% of the time the reply we get is them providing us with RGB colors or CMYK colors. CMYK colors are fine if we're digitally printing, but there's still going to be variances between those colors and Pantone colors.
Yeah.
So Pantone colors is Australian standard and what is used throughout, but I think that can be missed from time to time by graphic artists who have created that logo.
Yeah.
So there is a gap that we need to sort of meet and fix,
Yeah.
and aid the customers in how that sort of looks.
Yeah. It's as well like getting in for our customers a lot of times where they mix it a little bit up of if we are a branding agency, and on the other side, we supply you happily with ideas and inspiration of how they could all look like.
You sort of got to push them to taking a bit of ownership into their own brand.
Yeah, because again, you talk about, like, I try to get this picture across all the time. Hey, you kind of create an avatar, kind of virtual personality, and that's kind of on you because you are the business owner or you're the responsible for the brand to make sure it fits you, it fits your client, because you know your client, you know your industry, where it's hard from an outstanding person who is, or a company like us who is gets contacted for merchandise. On the other hand, then they want to hear how their branding looks like and how it should be placed and all this stuff. So that's where you have this daily conversation with customers to make, on the other hand, one side, on the one hand, sure, the outcome is good, but the expectation, what they maybe have in mind in regards to branding, is not colliding. And then to help this smaller brands, it's all the time, I guess, what you say and what our team say and what I sometimes in phone calls and video calls with our customers explain is, hey, maybe 5 minutes more thought into what you try to achieve here and what your actual context of these of your branding is, and the results will be 10 times better.
Yeah, it's just a constant of managing expectations. When you talk about those customers that do come in, like we touched upon before, it's sort of, I guess, quantity over quality. I don't think the research has been put into why they need that merchandise. You see, we see those quote requests that come in for 25 different products. It might be 25 different pens. It's like, okay, metal, plastic, executive, do you want an eco pen? You know, there's that. So to me, that just shows there hasn't been, it's a bit of an afterthought, and normally it's needed within 2 weeks. So we just need something to hand out because everyone else is handing out stuff. But that sort of misses the point of why you're doing this.
Yeah. And you're almost tempted to tell them, hey, better don't spend the money then.
Yeah.
Because it just will be wasted, because you obviously don't know for who are you, what type of customer are you talking to? What is the persona segment within your customer group you want to hand that stuff
do
out?
you know who you're handing this thing to?
Yeah, exactly. So, and then it's almost our job to say, don't waste that money. Come back next time with more thought process into it.
Or potentially maybe downscaling them and getting them to focus on maybe key people that are attending their conference. So instead of getting 2,500 pens to just hand out willy-nilly to anyone, maybe just order 25 high-level sort of I don't know, vacuum bottles that you know are going to be used by the people that you want to connect with and the people that are making the key decisions in that business.
Yeah. I guess our team as well knows quite well there to ask the right questions. Like having a catalog, what kind of identifies the gaps that may be there, and then even guide them in the right direction. So that's kind of avoids as well a lot of headache in the end. But yeah, on a day-to-day basis, I guess the main issue that we discovered within the difference of brands and businesses, they are prepared, and brands and businesses, they are maybe not prepared, and maybe don't even know that they're not prepared.
Well, that comes into our business is, I guess on the surface, it looks like it's transactional, but we are constantly providing an education and also like a consultancy sort of role in how they purchase their merchandise, and where that leads is, that's where we have to provide that sort of insight and manage expectations.
I guess as well, like when you all of a sudden you put your branding and your logo in action, then all of a sudden all these gaps appearing that you maybe didn't put thoughts into it. What kind of helps identifying to refining your branding, refining your logo, refining the actual appearance of your business to the public or to your customers. So I guess it's a great exercise with merchandising and with custom promotional products to actually get your brand to the next level, aside of the actual reach and the impact that you may have with the products themselves, but with getting a better understanding from your perspective as a business owner, what does it mean to use my logo, to communicate my brand to my people?
Of course, yeah. That's why it's so important to make sure that you're branding the right products as well, and the right way. To me, if I was handed a T-shirt that had a massive logo on the front in multiple colors, probably not going to wear it. But something a less more or less, I guess, less in your face, more subtle design, say short little logo on the sleeve or perhaps a tonal logo, I'd wear that. And people will notice that as well. That does create a story as well. Someone comes up to you, conversation, says, "Okay, what's that about?"
It comes back to if you want to use your T-shirt as a billboard, 99% of the people will not wear it. I'm a big fan of have a subtle branding, how you just described, but maybe even using the space that you have then for a quote or for something funny to actually get your message or vision across. People can now identify with and then have another reason to wear it, not because of your brand.
Well, potentially you could do something internally for your business. So if you've got a warehouse distribution team or outsourced sort of center, you might have an internal funny joke or a quote that's used within your staff. Add that to the shirt. Might create a bit of, bit of team morale, bit of funniness during the day. That
you have this insider
knowledge. And there are some software companies that I've seen do that. They put a bit of code on the back of their shirt that's no one else is going to know what that means unless you work for that organization. But that creates a bit of unity between your staff and staff wearing T-shirts as a bit of a uniform.
Yeah, and as well, it starts as a conversation starter because people get curious, ask you about it, and then connect this actually experience of the conversation with one of your staff out there, connecting to the brand. Like, hey, there are great people that work there, etc. But aside of that, even just with the teamwear, it works as well for, I don't know, when you're on an exhibition and it's a quite specific industry exhibition or network event or whatsoever, where you can come up with merch that is actually an insider joke, insider message that only these type of people will understand, and bam, you get your brand out to people. They understand what you do there. They know it's fun to communicate outside of this network event because they understand, hey, not everyone will understand that, and has this, again, conversation starter, curiosity, etc. So you have an actually emotional effect with your brand.
And that comes back to your target audience as well. That's where your market research has come into play. As in, you're not going to give that T-shirt to just a random on the street who's not from the industry. He's not going to know what it's about, and he's not going to appreciate what it is.
But then here is a perfect example. Then you use a T-shirt was a kind of plain, boring product, and you make it to something really, really exciting just by putting 5 minutes more thoughts into it to achieve this effect of a simple T-shirt with a cool message on it or with a hidden message that creates curiosity, etc. That only you get to this actual value or this type of product by understanding your audience, by understanding your target clients, and from there backwards you can work towards the actual message, actual decoration, what you try to communicate, etc. So I guess a key question that a lot of clients need to ask themselves as well is, hey, who I'm targeting here, who I want to talk to. And this key message will be in the end have the impact or have the effect of it's funny, it's creates curiosity, it's maybe motivating, all these different type of emotions that I can kind of trigger within a person by seeing my merchandise comes only by understanding who I'm talking to.
So Ralph Lauren came to us knowing exactly what they wanted because they had already planned in advance what the merchandise was going to be for. So this was in relation to a sort of co-branded event with the Australian Open. So they actually opened a store in Melbourne, and with that they invited a whole lot of influencers. And the merchandise that we did for them was like bamboo fans and cups that we used for cocktails. Those bamboo fans were then used at the Australian Open the next day. So it was something as a take home, but it also had the usability and the brand exposure at the court. So when the camera sort of glanced around the court, there was dozens of people with these fans and people drinking out of these cups. So they knew the event, what they wanted. So they had everything planned in foresight. They knew their market, which was obviously they've got a very strong brand. Their logo is very recognizable. And the people they invited were influencers who were into like high-end sort of fashion, and it just works. So they came to us saying, we need these specific products. They knew what they wanted. It wasn't, I guess, a less established company coming to us for ideas and trying to just purchase merchandise for the sake of merchandise. So on top of that, it's, I guess, the foreplanning. You got to know your market and what you want to achieve out of your merchandise.
I remember this project, and I
Yeah.
as well. Ralph Lauren did it really well there because they knew as well these type of people, my influencers, they will use these fans in the context that I get them into the Australian Open. There's no other way what they would do with it than because it's hot there. You sit in the worst case you sit in the sun and you will need to use it. So the already planned context of handing it over outside of the event and then they will use it on the court in the event place. That's a perfect example for your people and the situation that you place this merchandise into.
And you know your brand too. It's an established brand that people like being associated with. So I wouldn't say it's relatively easy, but it sort of goes hand in hand with that influencers in that sort of event for corporates and influencers. And it worked well. It was so easy to just do a bit of research on Google or Instagram and find the photos.
Correct.
That's
we
how
saw it on
prevalent
social
was.
media later. True.
So we wouldn't know the exact sort of end result for them, but from looking from the outside was just brand identity. It was so prevalent on, you could just search a hashtag.
Brand exposure.
Yeah, brand exposure. You could search a hashtag on Instagram. And the first thing you saw was just multiple people holding that product in the crowd.
Yeah, I guess what Love Lauren was as well trying to achieve here, and they achieved it obviously as one of the big results was because they're one major sponsor of the Australian Open to actually move their branding from the court to the people sitting around.
Yeah.
And you kind of get the entire stadium branded in this moment. So this is kind of one big move, I guess. I could imagine they had in mind. Not every client is kind of telling us what they tried to achieve with that.
But the fact that they sort of did it with a store opening and the Australian Open at the same time. So it was like the two events were blended and the merchandise was used at both events.
That's one red line between these two events.
And if you're using the same merch for two different events, you've got bang for buck too.
Yeah. Okay, that was for this episode. I hope you could take away some of the learnings that we discussed today here. And I hope I see you next time.
Thank you. See you next time. Thanks for tuning in to Promotions Playbook. If you enjoyed this episode, the best way to show your support is by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube so you never miss an episode.
You can also find more of us at PromoPunks on all social media platforms.
We'll catch you in the next episode, and until then, keep your brand on top.